All right, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org. Consequence and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thank you so much, as always, for making your way here, checking out the series. Please do hit the subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. I am so excited today to be talking with Royston Langdon, who's here with a new solo EP, right? This is the Chains EP. Hello, sir.
Hello, Kyle. How are you?
I'm great, man. It is a pleasure to talk to you. I've been a fan all the way back to the beginning of the Spacehog days, and I followed you through Leeds, and now with this. And right. First off, just the compliments. What a fantastic EP this is.
Oh, thank you very much, man. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah. I thought it'd be weird to start on an existential crisis, though it might have been. And I'm just bringing up that there's a line in the press release. And I say this because, you went from Leeds, and now we've got you under your own name and the moniker. You said, I know I'm at a crossroads, but I'm still full of life.
Yeah.
And I figured we'd start there. What's up?
Yeah. Well, it's, as you just pointed out quite rightly, I've been involved with music my whole life, and I sort of feel like I've still got a lot of work in me to get out there, and I want to get it out, and I think I'm at a stage in my life now where I appreciate that, and I'm a father, and my son's growing up, and on all those things that I think perhaps other people sort of my age, I'm in my 50th year now, Carl, so
congratulations.
Thank you. No, it's great to be alive, and I think that's really what I'm saying. It's good to be sort of here in the present, and I want to celebrate that.
So as an artist, then, do you find like you're still trying to figure out who you want to be? It sounds like a silly question, I think, when you're this far in, but
I don't think that's a silly question at all. I think it's actually a really good question. Yeah, look, I think for me anyway, being authentic and getting sort of closer to that constantly is what my sort of life work is all about. It's about, sort of going inward and in order to sort of take it outward, like I'm about to do on the road. But that sort of change and, awareness of life and what's going on around me, getting older, all that sort of stuff, is a really beautiful thing. It's not something to sort of shy away from, for me anyway. But it is something to sort of acknowledge, and that's what I'm doing. And there's so many distractions out there in life these days for everybody, and I sort of notice myself these days, sort of delving into that and being distracted, and really music's a way for me to sort of bring it all back to sort of me really, I suppose, and the way that my experience of life at this point is reflected.
Well, those distractions, as I think I understand at least, come into play, especially with the title of the EP and the title track with Chains. Is that part of it? Because what I kind of get from that is, it probably speaks to multi-levels if I'm guessing right, but being chained to those distractions that come within our life. Well,
yeah, in some ways, absolutely. There are all sorts of, there's all sorts of metaphors in there, I think. I don't really want to speak to any specifically because I think it's better to be sort of ambiguous, because I can, as I say, I'm only speaking for myself. I'm only sort of writing songs for myself, really. And hopefully, if they're any good, then people sort of have a feeling of what that's about, and that has an effect, and hopefully that effect is sort of, whether the song's dark or light or whatever it is, that the feeling ultimately is a sort of joyfulness.
Yeah, I do get that all throughout this.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah, I will hit the other side of that too, and again, not asking specifics, but kind of going back to where we were talking about deciding who you want to be, because the other side of chains for me is the possible past when you've been around, when you've had a career for now decades that goes along.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a very famous band with Spacehog. Is there still a part of that where do those chains exist? Is that the right way to ask that? Do you ever feel chained to that past when you're trying to push forward?
No, I don't. Not at all. I'm really proud of that work. Spacehog is a big part of my life, and always will be. And for what that is, and it still exists. That's the beauty of making these sort of documents of our lives, and we share them. And sometimes they really connect, and Spacehog definitely had that, a long time ago now. For me, sort of, I don't really look back. I get very sort of bored very quickly as it is. So, I'm more excited about what's going on right now, and I think obviously Spacehog affects me, and it's influenced my life, and a lot of that stuff is, at this point for me, that comes from that is all really positive stuff. To have had sort of any sort of input into the consciousness of the planet. And I know that sounds very sort of arrogant in some ways, but there is a small bit of that, and that's a great thing for any songwriter. In any shape or form. It's a beautiful thing, because people come back to me and say, "Oh, that song helped me through this." All right, when I hear that song, and that's really made, as a songwriter, it doesn't get any better than that. It just sort of melts my heart, and I like that. I like that. It's a good feeling, and so I'm proud of it, and As I say, I think it's okay today. It still has a life today, and that's sort of beyond my, I don't really have any sort of will in that. There's a lot of complications business-wise behind sort of things like entities like Spacehog and all that, and then there's the whole sort of personality thing that comes out, and that's very complex. It's a very complex thing, and I don't really focus on that today. I'm focusing on, being the singer out of Spacehog, Royston Langdon, who's still got a lot to do.
Yeah. Well, I'll quickly throw in, you talk about how it continues to have its life. I mean, we loved it as it is on Earth around here. Dinosaur still gets played on WFPK. Of course, Mungo City, I think, hits the family jukebox around here at the house all the time.
There, man. Is that
on cassette? It is, right next to my tape player.
That is cool. That is, oh, wow, man. Oh, wow. Amazing, man. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, but it does still sound great. It's so I will tread lightly when I ask about this, because I do ask it from a fan's perspective, that it's sometimes we go searching for the past and the present, and when I heard Halfway Home, there's that guitar part, and I went, oh, is that a musical send up to the song Spacehog? It's sort of got a similar kind of rhythm to it, and I started hearing that, and as a songwriter, that must be to some degree impossible to not do every now and then.
Well, I never thought of it, Carl, until you said it then, but I think you probably absolutely hit the nail on the head. look, songs for me are, sort of simple vehicles for expression and ideas, and musically, it's not all about, for me anyway, it's not all about sort of making it necessarily complex. As a song, it's about sort of, again, expressing a sort of feeling and an idea. And with that song, that felt like the right way. And I suppose, my sort of, what is it? My palette, as it were, is perhaps a bit limited to my scope in some ways. I don't know.
As they said, there's only,
I never really think about it. So it's interesting to hear that. And now you mention it, I think you're right, but I don't really think about that when I'm doing it. I don't think, I'm going to do, I think that just came out like that. Yeah, there's a few versions of that song that I did prior, making the record, and that felt like the right one. It just felt like the right one for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you're ever looking for a live mashup, then I've handed that to you. You're welcome. That's they go well together. They could go well together anyway.
Yeah, man, mash it up, man. Can you do that sort of thing?
You just do it on stage. It's going to be better than me trying it out here. You
got it.
I can't do it. I can't do it. So I'll then really truck back into the EP in particular. Especially again, as you come off of Leeds and what you're doing with that record, again, another excellent record. What put this one in motion? Was it anything specific, or was it just time?
I had some time. I did it in the summer of 2019 when it sort of came together. I'd been working on it quite a bit before that, but that was a sort of period of time where there was a sort of space in my calendar to do it. I was in New York, and I was working with Bryce Goggin and a guy called Adam Sachs who works with him, it was just, that felt like the right time to get that stuff done, and it was really, really, really quite. The recording process itself is really quite sort of easy, actually, in some ways. So yeah, I work very well with Bryce. I mean, we've been working together. I was his studio assistant, and that was my first job in New York when I came in 1994. I managed to sort of flag my way into the studio called Baby Monster Studios on 14th Street in the city, and he was the head engineer there. And I was like making the coffee and moving the microphone stands and all these great bands like the Ramones and Dinosaur Jr. and Pavement. Those records were done there, and I thought, man, this guy knows what he's doing. And so when ultimately, after about a year, we started, Spacehog had formed, and we started to get offers for record deals. It was a sort of no-brainer for me anyway, and get on with making Resident Alien, which is how we did it. So at this point, I don't even want to say how many years later. It's it's like riding a bike for us, and I was just in New York last week working on somebody else's record with him, and it's sort of like family, So I can sort of make a fool of myself, I can embarrass myself, and but not be afraid to do that. So I can get into some quite uncomfortable places with a sort of ease that I probably wouldn't be able to do with anybody else, and also I wouldn't be able to do on my own, because I'd be doing some really bad things, I think.
Well, I will say that I think of those moments, they make it in here too. Just starting a little trouble, because you do a couple covers. You do this great cover of Bowie's "Ashes to Ashes," and I love that. But I was caught off guard, as I'm sure a lot of people will be, of covering Iggy Pop's "Nazi Girlfriend." What's the story there?
Well, a bit like Ashes to Ashes, I'd started to do it in my show. I've been performing on my own, so I'm standing on the stage with an acoustic guitar and myself, and that's it, and a microphone, So I'd always liked that song, and I saw Iggy do it in New York years ago, and it sort of resonated with me for various sort of personal reasons, and I just started playing it, and I play it. It always seems to get a reaction. I think lyrically, it's a brilliant song, you know, and I think contextually, if you listen to it, it really works, you know. And that's the thing about these days, you know, it's important to remember context, I think, in everything, and in art, because if we don't, we become some sort of a totalitarian society, and that'd be horrible. So really, I think it was a bit of a pushback to that in some ways, on not in a political way, but cultural way, you know, and I think that's why I did it.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely one of those moments, as I said, when you're listening, you're going, hey, what now? Okay. That's which, you know, rock and roll, it's always been dangerous. So, you know, those moments exist.
And, you know, Iggy's, you know, a master at that, I think, you know. I have a sort of relationship, well, not directly, I don't really know him or anything, but I wrote to him when I still lived in Leeds, before I ever came to New York. And when I was a young teenager, I'd seen him play in Leeds, and it really blew me away. And there was a little address on the back of the record. I think it was the Brick by Brick album. Mm-hmm. And there was a little post office box you could write to in New York for like fan mails. And so I wrote to him, and he wrote me back. And I still got the letter. And I ended up telling this story to I don't know if you remember, she ran a magazine called Interview Magazine, which was a great magazine that was sort of started around the sort of Warhol World Factory time. And she's a friend of mine. Sadly, she's passed away now, rest her. But I told her this about, you know, why don't you interview it? So for the magazine, and I did, and then I got to meet Iggy and sort of share this stuff. And do you remember my letter? And I thought, no, it didn't. But I've just, you know, I just think he's. I think Iggy's sort of very underrated still to this day, you know. And I think if Bowie were around, he would agree, you know. And I think that's why Bowie got really involved with him. And I think he had a big influence on Bowie when he first came to America. And, you know, they're sort of like brothers in some ways. And being a brother that's been in the band, I wanted to have this sort of, just because I love them so much. You know?
Yeah. Well, it is exciting moments on here. Anyway, with both of those. I do want to quickly ask too. You're doing a lot on Patreon. I noticed online.
Yeah, I've got of fans that are just amazing. We have this. We sort of started it during COVID, you know, because there was not, you know, music going on, and I felt this sort of impulse to do something. And you know, what it was. I was back in England, and I was at my parents a lot. They got a piano, and I started playing piano in it on like Facebook, you know, and I was amazed live, you know, just for the hell of it, just to sort of connect, because it felt like, and from it sort of morphed into this thing of like, let's all get together. So there's a whole bunch of like music that never came out. I've done a version of Resident Alien that I'm calling President Alien. Over the course of like 12 months, I do a song every month. I've got one more place I'm working on right now, and that's just me on the acoustic guitar singing. I put that out, but other things I've been working on. We had bingo nights, we had live shows, we did all sorts of things just to keep everybody together, and they've been amazing because it's such a positive group, you know. Everybody wants to support, and the sort of you know, sort of the role of the Patreon or the patron, I think has been really important in my career. You know, people like Seymour Stein and others, you know, that have supported me as a musician. And I think that goes back to sort of days of yore, you know, when musicians were less sort of, you know, there was less adulation around them, and it was more like you were just a part of the dudes did music while other people did washing up, you know, and it was a way of just getting out of that, basically, I think. And sort of goes back to that a bit, really, where we're all sort of just all together and there's no sort of divide, you know, and I like it. It's cool. I'm not quite sure how it's going to go on from here because I'm going back out on the road now. But it's been, and I love it. And you know, I don't know, it's fantastic. It's a great thing for someone like me.
Yeah. Well, everyone should check that out. And as you mentioned, you are going on tour with the Psychedelic Furs, which again, another band that I absolutely love. So, you know, might have to travel for that one. Right.
Amazing band. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see you, man. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Royston, thank you so much. Again, the new EP is called Chains. And again, I love everything you do. So I can't wait to see where this continues to take you.
Thank you, Kyle. It's been a pleasure.